Some mysteries refuse to be forgotten. Some legends never fade. And some conspiracies demand to be uncovered. This is Codename Unknown. Mysteries, conspiracies, and legends. Where expert investigator and host Jackson Wolf dives deep into history's most perplexing enigmas, chilling folklore, and secretive cover-ups. Each week, he pushes the boundaries of what we know, uncovering hidden truths and questioning the stories we've been told. The search for answers begins now. Open your mind, question everything, and step into the shadows.
Welcome to Codename Unknown. Mysteries, conspiracies, and legends. I'm Jackson Wolf, and today we're exploring hidden in plain sight, the conspiracy of unseen influencers in society. By unseen, I don't mean supernatural. I mean the networks that quietly set agendas, advertisers and PR firms, lobbyists and think tanks, political operatives, platform designers, data brokers, front groups, and state and non-state information teams. They craft frames, seed stories, and steer attention, often legally, often invisibly. This episode asks two questions. Who's shaping the choices we think are ours, and how can we tell evidence-based influence from speculation? We'll map the players, examine historical case files, decode the behavioral science, and share practical tools for investigating claims while staying skeptical without slipping into paranoia. Let's begin at origins. Influence as an industry has a birthday, and it's close to Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew and a founder of modern public relations. Bernays reframed propaganda as PR, selling bacon and eggs breakfasts, cigarettes as torches of freedom, and the idea that experts in staged events could engineer consent. Academically, communication scholars later described agenda setting. Media don't tell you what to think so much as what to think about. Herman and Chomsky's manufacturing consent model added filters, ownership, advertising, sourcing, flack, and anti-communism ideology to explain systemic bias without conspiracy meetings. These frameworks don't assume puppet masters, they map incentives. When you combine Bernays' tactics with structural filters, you get a durable playbook, shape salience, frame meaning, recruit authority, and make the engineered look organic. It scales with money and media. Case studies make the abstract concrete. The tobacco industry ran one of the longest deception campaigns in history. Starting in the 1950s, companies funded doubt, not truth. We are not in the business of curing cancer, but of selling doubt, an infamous internal summary goes. They built front groups, paid friendly scientists, and used third-party validators to reframe risk. Similarly, leaded gasoline producers, led by Ethel and allies, dismissed early health warnings, funded reassuring studies, and lobbied regulators, delaying bans for decades. In both cases, documents later revealed a pattern: seed uncertainty, highlight economic benefits, attack critics, and normalize delay. The lesson is mundane but chilling. When harm threatens profit, sophisticated influence seeks to redefine what counts as settled. Paper trails eventually told the story. Government programs show another face. COINTELPRO, exposed in the 1970s, documented FBI infiltration, surveillance, and disruption of civil rights, anti-war, and other groups, using informants, forged letters, and smear campaigns to sow distrust. The Church Committee also revealed CIA influence efforts, including relationships with journalists and outlets. While Operation Mockingbird is debated as a formal code name, declassified records confirm media contacts and subsidies abroad. Here, the tactic is plausible deniability: compartmentalize operations, leverage intermediaries, and keep fingerprints faint. The caution is equally important. Claims should be anchored in primary sources, not memes. When we talk about unseen influencers, we must distinguish between verified programs with documents and the seductive comfort of a tidy, totalizing master plan. Complex systems rarely obey single authors or linear scripts anywhere. Fast forward to digital politics. Cambridge Analytica harvested Facebook data at scale, built psychographic profiles, and claimed to micro-target messages tuned to personality traits. The scandal mattered less for novelty than for revealing how porous our data ecosystems are and how targeted persuasion can be tested and iterated in real time. Platforms optimize for engagement. Attention is the currency, emotion the accelerator. Recommendation systems learn what keeps you scrolling, and in doing so, they can amplify divisive or sensational content that outperforms nuance. Micro-targeted ads allow campaigns and interest groups to whisper different frames to different audiences with limited public scrutiny. The outcome isn't mind control, it's a probabilistic nudge factory that changes turnout, attitudes, and agenda salience at the margins. Small shifts can sway close contests. Behind these machines are human levers. Behavioral science shows that small design choices change behavior. Choice architecture makes the default the decision, auto-enrollment boosts savings, cookie banners nudge acceptance. Scarcity increases perceived value, only 3 left, while social proof signals safety, most people choose option B. Authority bias elevates cues from experts, uniforms, blue checks. The mere exposure effect makes repetition feel true. None of this requires lies, it exploits heuristics that save us time. When advertisers place a product at eye level, when an app sends streak reminders, when headlines frame an issue as crisis versus opportunity, they're shaping the path of least resistance. In aggregate, tiny nudges accumulate into norms, and norms harden into policies, business models, and identities. Influence thrives where attention feels effortless and scarce. Public relations operationalizes those levers. Framing renames the battlefield. Estate tax becomes death tax. Drilling becomes energy independence. Euphemisms soften harm. Restructuring masks layoffs. In crises, playbooks prioritize narrowing liability, offering partial admissions, shifting timelines, and deploying contrite spokespeople while waging rearguard litigation. Third-party validators, academics, local leaders, NGOs appear independent while funded, sometimes indirectly by interested parties. AstroTurfing simulates grassroots, paid letters, rented crowds, copy-paste comments. Seeding narratives happens through embargoed reports, exclusive leaks, and coordinated op-eds designed to create the perception of consensus. A telltale signature is message discipline across disparate messengers. When the same phrases echo from press releases to panels to tweets, ask who benefits, who funds the platform, and what alternatives never get airtime. Silence can be strategy, not coincidence, in campaigns for influence. Media systems add structural currents. Ownership is concentrated. A handful of conglomerates control many outlets, each balancing civic mission with shareholder demands. Advertising remains a primary revenue stream, so coverage that alienates big buyers carries financial risk. Native advertising and sponsored content blur lines, borrowing journalistic style to deliver paid messages that look like articles. Editorial teams face time pressure, algorithm pressure, and access pressure, risk losing sources if coverage cuts too sharp. None of this means editors take dictation. It means incentives tilt attention toward what is cheap to produce, safe to print, and easy to click. Investigations still happen, but the baseline environment privileges speed, novelty, and advertiser-friendly frames over patient, resource-intensive accountability journalism. That imbalance leaves gaps unseen actors readily occupy and exploit. On platforms, amplification is algorithmic. Engagement-weighted feeds reward outrage, novelty, and identity signaling, which makes polarizing content travel farther than caveats. Recommendation systems create feedback loops. You click once, the system predicts you'll click again, and soon your feed narrows. Filter bubbles aren't absolute silos, but they do shift probabilities of exposure. Micro-targeted ads let campaigns A/B test hundreds of variants, finding the copy that moves a niche segment. Bots and sock puppet accounts manufacture momentum, creating the illusion of consensus or controversy that nudges journalists to cover the trend. Hashtag floods can bury counter-narratives. None of this requires coordination across the entire internet. Small, persistent manipulation can leverage platform design to punch above its real weight. Attention markets amplify tactics, not necessarily truth or context. Policy is another arena. Lobbyists draft bill text, provide talking points, and cultivate relationships through campaign donations and the revolving door. Staffers become consultants, consultants become regulators. Dark money flows through 501c4s, masking donors while funding ads, ballot initiatives, and litigation. PACs and super PACs amplify messaging and attack opponents with legally separate, practically aligned operations. Think tanks contribute white papers, op-eds, and expert testimony that set narratives long before votes occur. Philanthropy adds softer power. Large foundations and philanthropists fund research agendas, pilot programs, and journalism, sometimes aligning fields around measurable, funder-friendly metrics. Called philanthrocapitalism by critics, this influence isn't inherently malign, but transparency matters. Hidden funding can tilt priorities, define feasible solutions, and crowd out community voices. Sunlight helps communities negotiate terms and trade-offs. Information operations sit at the edge of politics and warfare. Disinformation mixes falsehood with truth, uses fake personas, and exploits grievances. Psychological operations weaponize timing, leak, distract, overwhelm, then deny. Non-state actors, mercenary PR shops, troll farms, crypto-funded groups, mirror state tactics, buying plausible deniability with distributed networks. Norms also shift through culture. The Overton window marks the range of sayable ideas. Influencers, media hits, and repetition can normalize yesterday's fringe. Meme warfare compresses narratives into viral, low-effort units, where humor lowers defenses and repetition raises familiarity. Elite cues matter. When trusted figures signal a pivot, followers update quickly. This isn't sudden hypnosis. It's continuous conditioning, where attention, identity, and community membership become the levers that move opinion. Rules change subtly, then suddenly with organized persistence behind. One deep dive: opioid marketing. From the late 1990s, manufacturers promoted long-acting pills as safe for chronic pain, leaning on weak evidence, sponsoring physician education, funding patient groups, and rewarding high-volume prescribers. Pseudo-addiction reframed drug-seeking as under-treatment. Lawsuits later surfaced deceptive risk claims and kickbacks. Settlements and tighter monitoring followed. Today we map the ecosystem: PR, media, algorithms, lobbying, philanthropy, info-ops, and persuasion, and separated documents from rumor. Investigate influence by following money and documents, lobbying and campaign filings, grant databases, platform ad libraries. Use Foyer and OSINT, privilege primary sources. Personal defenses, diversify feeds, block trackers, audit recommendations. Ethical guardrails, transparency, privacy, algorithmic accountability without blunt censorship. Share credible tips and questions. I'm Jackson Wolf. Thanks for listening to Codename Unknown. Until next time, investigators.
You've been listening to Codename Unknown: Mysteries, Conspiracies, and Legends. The search for answers never stops, and the truth is always waiting to be uncovered. If you enjoyed the journey, subscribe to us, and don't miss what's next. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning everything.